Hello,
Is
internet
it
land.
centered enough? Do we need a bit more crossiness?
No, I think it looks fine to me.
Okay, fine. Is that
Alright.
because you're dead centered?
It's the important.
That's
all,
fine.
all the important angles are covered. I think it's my best side.
Very good.
All right. Hello.
Hello.
And welcome to the 5th episode
five.
of the Guitar Geekorama podcast. Here I am with Mr. Dave Lee.
Hello, Eldritch Guitars.
And I'm Ian Hartley. And today we're going to talk about guitars.
Yes.
Finally, we're getting round to talk about guitars. Okay, should we I don't know why we're looking at the camera this time. We weren't doing that last time. Let's
just engage with
really,
our audience.
really awkwardly just like look away from the camera, look at each other. Oh, okay, that was cool. Right, got it.
Okay.
All right, good. Okay, it kind of broke the fourth wall there, didn't we? Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Fourth wall?
Yeah.
Right.
Don't
okay.
know why.
Good. Okay, so guitars.
Yes.
Yes, I got a new one.
So did I.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. It's going to steal,
I can't believe you
steal
got a new
my
one.
fire.
I remember episode 1. You're like, I don't like guitars.
Well, yeah, until the new one comes along. Right, well, let me tell you the story.
Okay.
Right, what it is I had a little practice with a band the other day.
Which band was this?
This was with Milner.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was playing my PRS. It's lovely, plays nicely and whatnot. But it just occurred to me that because I've been playing lots of acoustic guitar and I've been playing lots of like semi-acoustic, like big body jazz guitars. I've just really gotten used to the way they feel and the way they sound.
Yeah, like the resonance.
The resonance of it, yeah. And also the thing that that sort of got me was as I was soloing, I kept on sort of cranking the gain a bit more than I like, just so that I can get like the feedback and stuff. I was like, right, I think I need to go in the other direction, roll down the gain and actually get something a bit more resonant that's gonna, feedback naturally. So I started looking at the Epiphone Dots, Epiphone Casinos, and all the sort of knockoff derivative brands. I also, because I like to torture myself, so I also started looking at proper Gibsons, 335s, 339s, and all of that stuff. But I can't really justify it at the moment. It's a lot of money to go into that. And I looked at the second-hand ones as well. I even looked at kits.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's not a lot out there, and I don't know about build quality. So.
I don't know how I feel about a bolt-on neck, like semi either. That just feels a bit weird. I mean, I've never seen one, so I can't make a comment, but it does feel a bit weird.
You're right, actually. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. Basically, they were just sort of kind of cheap looking that I just I was sure that it wasn't going to come out with what I wanted. So then, of course, I do have I can't remember what it's called, but it's the Ibanez Big Body. It's like their cheapest jazz guitar. Yeah. And I got that probably a year ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I thought, right, I'll just get an Ibanez, and this is what I got. Yeah,
because I remember you messaging me in the week and being like, dude, I'm gassing for a 335, and I'm like,
that's
whoa.
It. Yeah. So
nice.
This
nice,
is, man. Yeah, it is really nice, actually. It's very, very nice guitar. So this is I'm going to get it wrong. It's an Ibanez AS35, I think. Hang on. AS53, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, and this was 240 something pounds. It's got the stock pickups in it at the moment. I'm really, really happy with it. It is resonant, just like I wanted it to be. It's got a bit more it's a bit more lively than the solid body guitars. You can feel that. You can feel it's got a bit more volume to it, more resonance. I haven't practiced with it yet, haven't gigged with it yet either, but I've sort of turned it up a little bit loud and done a couple of lessons with it, and I'm very happy. Yeah, it's a nice guitar.
It looks really nice. What is that, mahogany?
I don't know. Take a look at it. You're more likely to be able to tell than me. I can't really tell, to be honest.
Yeah, it looks like a mahogany.
But I like it.
Cool,
the thing I like about it actually is that for a sort of budget guitar, and I know it's not like super cheap, but got all the binding. It's got all of the hardware, the nice configuration. and it hasn't actually been set up. This is just straight out of the box, and it plays just fine. It's got maybe one little slightly dead spot around the sort of C sharp, but so it might need a bit of a setup. But yeah, this is just literally straight out of the box. Got it maybe yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, there's a fair bit of relief in the neck, so you've got some straightening you could do on that to kind of figure that flat spot out.
Or when you say you mean straightening,
I mean me.
That you could do.
Yeah, when I say you, I mean you. Me.
Yeah.
No worries.
No, it does look like it needs just a little bit of a,
not
tweak.
much,
but no, it's. I mean, but this we were talking about this last podcast that basically all of the Ibanez come out like that, don't they? It's like, I don't think I've ever played a really ropey one.
Yeah, and this was my recommendation as well when you started talking about it as well. If you're not going to go to Gibson route, what about the Ibanez route? Because I've got like a little version of this, haven't I?
Yeah, that's right.
Interesting actually. I got that Pleck setup.
Yes.
All done on it.
Right. Which is quite a super special one. Why don't you explain that process?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. We'll come back onto that guitar in a sec. Are you gonna play over my sing?
No, I'm not. That's
gonna sing about
I'm
Pleck.
gonna want to and just not. Go on.
Okay. So yeah, I got an Ibanez semi like this. It's a bit smaller in body. I'll put a photo up here.
Magic.
And I picked it up for about £200 second hand. It's got a nice Sobrano top on it, I believe. And it's
how much are they new? May I ask? It was a pretty.
It wasn't
mid-range one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like $350. I think.
Oh, okay.
New, so
okay, but it was in really good condition when.
Yeah,
you got
it looked brand new, but after having a bit of a setup on it, because the action was quite high when I got it, I found that the neck had a bit of a twist in it, which was a bit of a shame. And I spent a long time trying to figure it out and trying to adjust the action, trying to adjust the truss rod and everything in between, and just trying to get it to play right. And it just sat on my wall for ages because I just couldn't get it to play right.
Right.
And when I heard about these guys,
what's the name of the place? Oh man, because I went there with you.
The name of the place will appear on the screen, and if you're listening to the podcast, have a look on the screen.
Right.
YouTube,
because it was the name of the guy, wasn't it? It's like somebody's guitars, Chatham's guitars, or something like that. I can't remember.
No, it wasn't Chatham's. It was the first name of the man.
Anyway.
This is not good radio, so I will figure out. Or if you pass me my iPod, I will look it up.
Yeah,
briefly.
let's do that.
No, Charlie Chandler's Guitar Experience, I believe.
That's right.
Yes. Charlie Chandler's Guitar Experience. And this was down in the posh part of London, down by...
and because we flubbed the name so badly, we probably should put a link to there, because it was amazing. Like, going in there was really dangerous as well, because it was just like... It's not like one... how can I say this without being rude? The guitar shops all look pretty much the same, don't they? This one looked like an old guitar shop, like where, oh my God, you felt like you could find something magic, and there was lots of little magic bits there. Like, oh my God, I can't look at it too much because I want it so bad.
Yeah, it was about twice the size of this room, of a whole like shop floor.
Yeah,
but it was stacked like 5 guitars.
Really good fun. It looked like an old style guitar shop. All everything higgledy piggledy and sort of like
dark.
like loads of boutique amps.
Everything was
amps.
an unusual guitar. Yes. Even their cheap like starters guitars that they called them, they were all kind of like 80s or something a little bit unusual.
Yeah.
And they were all really good, reasonably priced as well.
Yeah. And they were really nice guys as well, weren't they? Just you could pick up anything, have a look at anything, they're just really nice. But anyway, this setup has got a specific name.
The one thing they do, which I don't know if anywhere else in the country does it, is a Pleck setup. And this is basically a CNC machine. So it uses a big computer with an arm, a bit like this guy here.
Yeah.
But it measures the height of the strings over the frets in every single position. And then the machine whizzes back and forth and levels the frets so that they're all exactly the right height for the strings. And you can get like the ultimate setup based on, 0.01 of a mil. Do you know what I mean? Precision. I'm not sure if it is that, but it was supposed to be like the best setup. Okay,
the proof of the pudding is in the eating. You kind of went through this process really with the idea of like seeing if it was as good as they say, and it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I went to pick up the guitar, and fair play to them as well. They did it in a week, like they said they would. I went back the next week to pick it up. I sat down. They went out the back to find it, offered me a tea, which is nice. As an Englishman, that's always good when you get offered a tea. Then just let me play it, make sure I was satisfied with it. The frets were immaculate. The
How much
the
did
edges
it
were
cost,
rounded
if I
off.
can ask? Was it, how much money was it? 100 and something?
I don't want to say because I might get it wrong. It was around 160-ish.
Yeah,
I
think so. Yeah. that
again,
rings a bell.
I will make sure that on the video version of this, I will put the actual price I paid for it.
Yeah.
And figure it out.
So anyway, it's not the cheapest setup.
No,
but,
it's not. It's
but
not.
it's a very different setup. Right?
It is, yeah. And I don't know why I'm saying this because I'm kind of doing myself out of work.
Oh,
Bring your guitars to me to set them up, or take them to Charlie Chandler and get a machine to do it. Yeah. But as I picked up the guitar, instantly I was like, yeah, like it sorted all my problems out, and it's now the best playing guitar I have.
Right.
The action is low, and we're talking about something like this, a semi. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not, an RG or something that's supposed to shred, but it does shred.
Right.
And yeah, I'm really pleased with it.
Huh.
Yeah. So there's a bit of an experiment because I like finding out new and interesting things about guitars and guitar building and guitar setups.
They said they were kind of open to us going down there and filming it, and
this is what I was going to get to. Yeah. So for me, that was kind of a fact-finding mission and a way to fix a guitar. For the longer picture being hopefully that with this podcast we can, go and film the process.
Sure.
So they said that in principle that's fine. I need to get back in touch with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I might take this guy down.
Mm-hmm.
Not that there's anything particularly wrong with the setup, but the frets are a little bit edgy on it, and the neck is slightly twisted where it was in storage for a while in a damp loft. Never do that.
Storage,
that was a bad
man.
mistake.
It's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. So did you hear? I think it was so I'm jumping around here.
Yeah,
but, maybe it was. What was the disastrous flood? I want to say Katrina, was it?
Yeah.
And
in New Orleans. And
yeah. So 6 to 8 months after that, there was a glut of vintage instruments, right? And basically, they'd all been damaged seriously in those storms, and then dried out and but they never get back to their original, and apparently there was a lot of instruments out there which were being
the Gibson
touted.
factory was affected, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah. And I can't remember. There were quite a few big bands. I can't remember who's based it around there, but it happens apparently because a lot of bands, the bigger bands have studios in Texas, because Texas is like, its own music business, isn't it?
Course,
it's like, it's massive. And they end up, if there's storms and stuff, bands can lose like, millions of dollars worth of vintage equipment because it's all in storage there, It's crazy, isn't it?
That is crazy.
But anyway, coming back to storage of guitars, it's a big one because, the variations in temperature and humidity especially can be absolutely disastrous for instruments. You got to keep it.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you can see on the video, but just here behind this N1 is actually, I've got a thermometer and a humidity sensor just so I can always keep check on all the guitars that stay in here, make sure it's always in the smiley face range.
Right, that was my next question actually, is what can you do? I'm assuming that wherever would be comfortably habitable by humans, that would be a good place for guitars to live as well.
Yeah, you got to keep the humidity relatively reasonable though. Have you ever been to a guitar shop in a foreign country and all the guitar strings are all rusty and crap? Like, how was it in Japan when you lived in Japan?
Oh, no, but I mean, they're meticulous in Japan. So, everything was well looked after over there. And I'm certain. Japan does have extreme seasons, certainly, but they also have air conditioning everywhere. So, they're very much, I'm sure that when it comes to guitars and stuff, they're very much aware of, humidity levels and all that kind of stuff.
I've heard people from places like Malaysia and Hong Kong and places like that saying that, humidity gets so high that they have to change their strings weekly.
Right.
Which is tough because, what you're supposed to do, you can't, live in a completely
well, okay, but
encapsulated building.
Maybe this is a little bit kind of gross, but hey, let's go there. Like, I don't have to change strings. Like, I can go months with a set of strings. Seriously. Some people, a couple of weeks, they've got to change their strings. Yeah. Because some people sweat from their fingers and other people don't, right? Or, I mean, we all do, but there's degrees of it.
And
right?
I think there's varying amounts of acidity
Yes.
in people's sweat as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, right. Excuse me. Yeah, so that's always been interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because then you'll let someone have a go on your guitar, and like 2 weeks later you'll be like, oh man, I got to change the strings. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Yeah. But I thought I was just making this up. But
How gross do you want to get?
go for it. Oh, I think you're gonna have to stand up. Can you do it?
I can't. I'm gonna have to stand up.
If you can't see, he's trying to fish a flying V out of a guitar hook right now, and he's made it. Yes. Right, what we got here?
Smell my strings.
Oh, I don't want to smell them.
You wanted to get gross.
I don't. Let me know why. What's happened with this guitar?
This is not my guitar. This is
Right.
one I picked up cheap. I was going to do some kind of design on it.
Right.
The strings stink. It smells like pickled onion monster much
Oh
to me.
my god, no! I don't need to be smelling that.
Yeah.
But I get the point. Yeah.
And that's, I think, the result of sweaty,
Yeah.
acidic fingers on old strings.
Yeah. Yeah. Gross. So the point being that humidity is a thing. It's not. It is for real, right?
Yeah, but so sweaty hands are a thing as well. So
yeah.
And there's a lot of products out there which people use to try and clean the strings after they've played it, and people are meticulous about using fast fret and
one of the
string
things
cleaner
I've never understood, and I don't know if this is a shift in policy or technology or just laziness, I don't know, but last few guitars that I've bought have just come chipped to me, and they've been more or less in tune. Yeah. But back in the day, you used to get guitars and the strings were just rubber bands. They were on there, but they weren't anywhere near pitch.
Yeah.
And I was always told that was for transportation.
Yeah.
Right? So there's no tension on the neck. But now they tend to ship them in tune. Now, to my mind, it makes more sense to get it in tune and ship it that way, because that's where it's got to sit comfortably, rather than you tuning it up and then waiting half a day to see what happens to the neck so that you set it up again. What's the thinking there, do you think? Is it just weird?
Yeah, no, I hear people say this all the time, like if you're going to ship or store a guitar, always loosen the strings off so you're not putting tension on it. But it doesn't make any sense to me, because maybe this comes from the days before truss rods were a thing.
Right.
So, it might be getting pressure on the neck during shipping, and there's no truss rod to hold it straight, so therefore it's going to go with the string tension and it could warp it.
Sure.
But nowadays, with truss rods being really good, you want that tension of the strings on there, otherwise it's going to go the other way. Yeah,
because that's another thing that it reminds me about in Japan. That's how they did it. You would ask, "Can I try a guitar?" And 9 times out of 10 they'd pull it off, and it would be, it would need tuning. It would be the strings would be really slack, so it would be in the store out of tune. Whereas now, I think in the UK, every store you go in, every guitar's pretty close to being in tune.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly the intention is that they're in tune. But, well, that makes sense from a sales point of view, because you don't have to go through the rigmarole.
Absolutely.
And also, if it was my guitar store and it wasn't huge like Anderton's or Guitar or something, I would want all the guitars to be reasonably set up.
Yeah.
I've been into a lot of small guitar shops and you pick up. I played a Gem once. No, it wasn't a Gem. It was a Paul Gilbert Ibanez. Off the shelf in a small local guitar shop. It was a big brand, but quite a small shop. So it wasn't, they had like hundreds of guitars to deal with. And it was just set up awfully. I couldn't play it.
Right.
Now, I owned a Paul Gilbert guitar myself, so I knew how good they could be. I love the neck profile. But this one I just couldn't play. And I was like, why? But they never sold it.
Right.
And I was like, why don't you just spend, 10 minutes just straighten the neck a little bit.
It's not,
lower the tension, lower the action on the strings.
Yeah.
And people will pick it up and go, because it's that feeling that really sells a guitar for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah. Well, or, knock off half the price, and then someone will go, I'll have that and fix it, But
that's certainly what I'd do.
Yeah. If you want to shift the guitar at retail price, yes, it needs to be really playable. I mean, this must be a big deal for guitar shops, because obviously you can go to a guitar shop, you can try anything, and then you can just go online and find the cheapest price and get it.
It's tricky. It's tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah. They must really
And
be
this
suffering
must
with
be
that.
why especially the sort of the bigger. This must be why one of the reasons why the smaller ones are going out of business, and the bigger ones, everything is, what's it called? Buy now, pay later,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Because you can't do that on Amazon or eBay or whatever,
Yeah, you're right. And also they've got, the big shops have the buying power,
Of course, yeah.
so they can reduce their prices to be
Yeah.
in line with online, within like £50 sort of mark.
Yeah. It's difficult, man, because like I didn't tell you, like we never talk about drums. Are we allowed to talk about drums on the Guitar Geekorama podcast?
No. Yeah, go on. Briefly, we can take a little dip into the drum.
So I was looking for a snare drum. That's all. I just needed a second snare drum, wanted a wood drum, and I bought something off eBay, and it didn't play good. And I was like, okay, fine. So I got new heads for it. Still didn't play good. Okay, got a new snare wire for it. It still didn't play good. And then realised that the shell had warped. So okay, it was cheap. I paid like 50-60 quid for the thing. But then you add in new heads and a new snare wire, it's getting close. That's another 50 or 60 quid, right? And basically I had to bin the thing. I obviously kept all the parts that I'd bought, but it's just like, oh man, and that's why I'm really nervous about buying, say, guitars on eBay, used guitars on eBay.
Okay, yeah.
Because a drum, there's not that much can go wrong, but there's, obviously this guy. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm assuming he just sold it because he didn't need it and he didn't know that, he probably knew it wasn't working properly, but just thought, someone will be able to fix it. But, once it's warped, basically, the snares will never sit right against the bottom skin. And then, sorry, we're straying into drum territory. But anyway, that's the point. And that's why I've always sworn off eBay for guitars, because that is one place I looked when I was looking for something like this.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, God, what is it? No returns, no refunds accepted. And all that, I don't know. How have you, you bought that secondhand, right?
I did. I think
and
it was
the
on
pickled
Facebook.
onion strings
Pickled
came
onion string
free
guitar,
with it. Yeah.
For me, because I've got the ability to fix most things on a guitar, I'm not as concerned. Now, that Ibanez was a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
So I have been burnt, and also I've been burnt on a Parker Fly in the past as well, which was a big deal.
Yeah.
So you have to be really careful.
Sure. Now, something like the Parker Fly, you haven't really got any choice but to go used anyway, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And used is fine, but always play it, and don't do what I did and just go, I can probably fix whatever's wrong with this anyway. The action's a bit high. No, it's worth, if you've got a bit of knowledge, speak to the guy and say, look, I'm going to try and get this to where I want it to be, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to walk away. If they're saying no, then walk away anyway.
Yeah,
sure. Because with eBay, contact them, just say, can I come and try it?
Yeah.
Most people will be like, yeah, no worries. Also, I'm a big fan of the Facebook selling groups for musical equipment, because people are real people on there.
Well, and it's reputation as well, because if anybody burns anyone on there, it gets spread very quickly.
It does. Yeah. And, I've done a lot of guitar sales on there, and,
And they also vouch for each other in advance, don't they?
Yeah.
Like, people say, look, I'm thinking about this. Does anybody know this guy? And then 5 people say, yeah, he's awesome. You can trust him. Go. And then you don't have to go check it. You don't have to go see it. You can just go, okay, cool, dude, and work out a price and then do it.
I'm a big fan of secondhand guitars. Like, I love finding a bargain or something a bit that... I did a bad word on the podcast.
No, it's all right. Yeah.
I'll beep that. Or something that needs a bit of work doing. I love buying something for, £100, £150.
Yeah.
That's a bit, destroyed, and then
see, we've talked about this a little bit, and this is the thing. Like, okay, so you paid 200 odd for your Ibanez used.
Yep.
But then you had to spend 150 to get it set up.
Yes,
I know.
I did.
I know. It wasn't like you didn't have to do that, but
I did to get it to work. To be fair, but
right.
If it had been good, then I wouldn't need to do anything to it, and it would have been fine. I'm not really one to leave my guitars alone, though.
Sure.
And for me, that was an experiment to see if it was going to work and could be a podcast piece as well. Now, I have bought a new guitar as well. Yes, we're going to talk about that.
Okay, wait a minute. I do have to just. I had to play it because it was just sitting on my lap.
Yeah.
All right.
I got this
What
guy.
did you buy?
Let go. Oh my god. Why are they fighting me? Okay, I got this guy. It's a Jesus, what's going on there? Stupid hangers. Well done. Okay, you can play it. So this is a
Surf green.
surf green Squire Jaguar.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a vintage modified model, and this is brand new. So, but I know a guy, and he bought a load of stock. I'll call him out, Richie. Thanks, dude. And in fact, I think I mentioned it in last week's podcast, saying I was going to get this if he ever sorted things out, and he managed to sort it out last week. So,
Right.
thanks
so
very
this
much
is
for that.
Indonesian Fender Squire
Yep, Jaguar.
Jaguar.
So short scale.
Short scale.
Yeah. And I haven't got one of these type of offsets, and I've always fancied one. And I knew Richie had one from when he worked in the shop, and he bought all the stock out when the shop closed down. It's literally
Okay.
like 3 years ago, and I've been saying I want that guitar ever since. And I finally got it, so I think I paid £200 for this, and it's fine. It almost doesn't need anything doing to it, but you know I like projects, so this has a lot of switches on it, has a lot of switching opportunities. So and
Am I right in thinking, because this is what I heard, I don't
Mm.
know if it's true, that this was initially designed as a jazz guitar? And
yeah,
that-
because
that's
the
what-
Jazzmaster was the long scale version of this.
yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But it became like a surf rock thing just because of the time it came out in the 60s.
Well, I mean, this is the funny thing, isn't it? I don't think I've. Oh well, actually, probably with the exception of like Bill Frisell, I've very rarely seen like jazz players play one of these. I don't. Yeah,
Well-
it became more associated with the surf rock thing than it did with jazz, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, the Jazzmasters themselves had P90s on,
Right.
and they came out first.
Right.
And they were a bit more suited to it because they had a bit of a richer tone. But as you can tell, this is single coils on this, which wouldn't suit jazz at all, really.
Well, yeah, and then of course the obvious resurgence with the sort of 80s and 90s bands and people like
Very much 90s ones.
Johnny Marr and who else made these famous? I mean,
Well, Kurt Cobain.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, hit the offsets for him, like
Yeah.
the Jaguar and the Jazzmaster and the Jazz
Uh-huh.
Stang, his one. You know, very much. And this is kind of also why I was happy to get it at the moment, because as you would have seen from the Facebook invitation, it's my 40th birthday soon.
Right, yeah,
I've
yeah,
said
yeah.
it out loud on the podcast. I mean, 30th birthday soon.
All right.
Honest Cove. And I want to put together a band. Do you want to help out?
Yeah, sure.
Cool, thought
Yeah.
that'd be the case. You don't get really options if I ask you on the podcast. And I was
No,
like,
sorry, I'm not celebrating your birthday. No.
and yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I just wanted something that would kind of suit the vibe of like a few 90s covers. And I thought, Jay Mascis from Dinosaur Jr.
Sure.
I think the guys from Sonic Youth had something similar to this, and obviously Kurt Cobain. So it's that kind of vibe. So I don't know.
Okay.
I might do a design on it beforehand. I'll certainly mess up the switching.
So was it expensive? Can I ask?
No, £200. So they weren't hugely expensive new, to be honest. So it's not a massive bargain, but it's cheaper than it would have been to buy it from a shop. I think I saved about £90 on it.
And which one changes the channel on the TV?
Yeah, I think it's that middle one there. You just-
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that one does the TV. That one, careful you don't turn off the camera. Yeah, so you've got your pickup switch in here,
Uh-huh.
and then you've got, I don't know how
Yeah,
it
I
works.
don't know
I'm
what
so
any of
confused.
these
You've got a rhythm and treble circuit, and then you've got volumes for each of those, and a master volume and a master tone, and then you've got
And these pups,
A
they
switch.
say Duncan Design,
Yeah.
so I'm assuming that's
Seymour Duncan.
Seymour Duncan.
Yeah, not made by them, but designed by
Right.
them. And
Well, they
built
could
by
have just
them.
found any guy called Duncan, right?
Yeah.
Duncan is Duncan. What Duncan? The guy from down
Yeah,
the corner, the furniture salesman.
Yeah.
He designed them.
he did.
No, so Seymour Duncan designed then.
But I'm
Okay.
thinking about putting some stacked humbuckers in it because I play humbuckers generally anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Coil splits, maybe some phase control options on there. I'm going to replace this with a
But
three-way.
if you replace it with humbuckers, isn't that going to sort of negate all of this cleverness?
Well, I'm going to use that for other things. I'm going to replace these switches at the bottom with a three-way. because switching pickups on and off individually is not the way.
Right.
So I'm going to move that freeway, and then I'm going to put switches in where the roller controllers up there. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll use blend controls. Anyway,
You're going to do something.
I'll do something with the coil splitting, something with the phase controls as well there, so I can get a lot of different tones out there.
I've never used a bridge like this. This kind of the what
Yeah.
kind of trem do you call this? I don't know.
That's just like a Jazz Master Trum, yeah.
Right.
It's like a contained.
It's a rolling trem, is it?
No, it's got springs underneath that plate, which
I
hold
see.
it in position, and then that whole back section kind of pivots up and down on a plate underneath.
Wow.
Yeah, they don't have a great reputation, to be honest.
Don't stay in tune.
Well, yeah, I think the springs need a bit of work before they're reliable.
Okay.
Like, I think that generally there's too much tension on them originally, but a lot of people swap them out for either a mastery, which is like a third-party trem, or they put the Mustang style trem
You
in
got a
them.
pick.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, standard.
Cool. No. That's good. Yeah. I mean, you're right. It does. I made it go out of tune just with that little wobble there. Oh my god.
Balls over strings are probably doing that.
Yeah, but you're right. It does. The setup is actually very decent.
Yeah, and Richie did give it a bit of a setup
Okay.
first. Maybe we should get Richie on the podcast. He's an interesting guy. I don't think you've met him.
Only briefly. Only when you've been doing gigs and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm on nodding terms with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good guy.
Nice
He's
guy.
got a lot of knowledge. Worked in a lot of guitar shops.
Mm-hmm.
Does a lot of things. Been in a lot of famous bands. Well, a couple of famous bands. So might be worth getting him on. I'll see what he thinks. What do you reckon, Richie? Get in touch.
Well, if you're having a 90s themed birthday, isn't he in a 90s band?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He was, right?
Yeah, he played in Carter, USM, yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't get more 90s
Yeah.
and British than
He's
that.
he's already agreed to be in the band for the party, so
Cool. Nice.
yeah, cool. So that's my little project
Mhm.
coming up amongst all other projects as well. Good
What
luck getting
else
that
have
back
you
in.
got? So while we're on guitars, then what
Okay.
other guitars are in the pipeline?
So there's a man called Fred Handel, and he is a friend of mine that I've only ever communicated through Facebook with. But he's a jolly nice guy, very interesting chap, piano tutor, guitar player, a Frank Zappa freak. And year before last, he released an album of piano-based covers of Frank Zappa, and I supported him with his Kickstarter on that. Very good it was too. And I kind of mentioned to him that if he was to do one again, I'd like to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
So he's in the process of creating another album, and I play bass on Peaches and Regalia
Okay.
for that, which is something that we played many years ago together. Anyway, so
Who is this Frank Zappa that you're talking about? Yeah. So Zappa was a very a seminal influence back in the day.
yeah, right.
And yeah, playing. I think I still play a few of his bits of music. Half play it. Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's challenging and interesting stuff.
Yeah. Have you? Sorry. Go on.
Yeah.
Carry on with Fred. What was his name? Fred.
Yeah, Fred Handel.
Okay. Yeah.
From Holland. And he didn't want to create a Kickstarter of this album. He wanted to try and self-fund, but obviously
Okay.
producing an album has expenses. So
Sure.
he's looking at selling off some of his kit. He's got a really cool yellow guitar he's selling off, all set up with a case and everything and a strap, to try and raise money for it.
Nice.
I don't know if he's going to quite get there with it, so I offered to do him one of my designs on a guitar and
Mhm.
offer that up for him to auction off to raise money for the album as well. So that's what I'm working on this weekend, and that's an SG that's kind of behind a load of paper
I
on the
see.
table down here. Now, this was originally a Kimbara SG, so it's like a 1970s, I think, Japanese made
Okay.
Gibson SG copy. It was in a bit of a state when I got it. I took it in as part X on something else, and it's just sat around. So I'm going to put an image of Frank Zappa on there,
Nice.
and kind of make it out like a
And of
Baby
course,
Snakes SG.
probably 70s Zappa. That's his most iconic instrument.
Yeah,
was
the
his
Baby Snakes
custom-made
SG.
SG. Yeah.
So yeah, this is going to be like an homage to that,
Mm.
and I'm going to put some like zebra stripe pickups in it, and the fretwork on it does need a refret, so it's not going to play like a shredder, but it'll be
Sure.
usable and it'll sound good, and it'll be like a unique design. And then Fred will offer that up for, auction or at a fixed price. I'll let him decide on what it is, but that's to raise money for the album, to get the album released. So
Cool.
yeah.
Have you been following any of what Dweezil Zappa's up to?
Yeah. I mean,
He's
not in the last couple of weeks. I know there's been a lot of trouble because he's doing the Zappa Plays Zappa tours, and then
he's kind of stopped with the Zappa Plays Zappa like that as a brand name because he got that cease and desist, didn't he? So he did the cease and desist tour, which is excellent.
And then the Zappa Plays.
So
okay,
just potted history on this as I understand it. Basically, there's an inter-family feud. There's 4 Zappa children, and basically 2 of them are trustees of the Zappa estate
and
now that
and Gail.
now that Gail has passed away, and of course Frank died 25 years ago now, right?
Was it?
I think so, 93. Yeah. And then the other 2 Zappas they're not trustees, but they're something. Anyway, 2 of them have got a bit more control than the other 2, and they're fighting over brand names and over the use of the name Zappa, which is mad because it's
their family name.
It's his family name, yeah. And also he is the only Zappa who can play Zappa. So yeah, there is that. Let's not ignore the
and I've seen Zappa Play Zappa. Did you go
yes,
see the tour?
I have seen them. Yeah.
Yeah, really great. Like fantastic. He does the work justice.
Well, yeah. I mean, to be honest, I don't really want to weigh in on the whole situation, because with any kind of legal wranglings, there's always a bit more to it than there appears to be. I think it's a real shame that they can't come together and figure it out. I hope that they do. But yeah, just looking from the outside, there is only one Zappa who can play Zappa. And I'm sure they could work it out. But everything I've read sort of points towards Dweezil being really reasonable and everything. Yeah. But I've also, I don't know the guy.
No, I don't know. But all I'm looking at is I've seen him play.
Yeah.
And I've seen him do justice to the music.
Oh, undoubtedly. Yeah.
And he was part of Zappa's bands at some point.
Sure.
And he's Zappa's son. I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be allowed to
anyway, without wading in on that, I was just interesting because what I saw yesterday was that he's doing a Kiwi. He's gone to New Zealand and Australia, I think, on tour. Okay. And I think he's doing it as Dweezil Zappa and hooking up with some of the local musicians out there. Okay. So I think taking his band across, I'm assuming. But nowhere did I see Zappa Plays Zappa like that.
The last one I saw was Dweezil Zappa Plays whatever the he wants.
Right.
I beeped again.
There we go. Yeah. There we go. So it's kind of moving in that direction. But anyway, I was more interested in the guitars that he's playing. You've seen what I was talking about is he had to have a repair job done on his SG because
was his SG the SG?
No, I don't think so. I think he had one.
Did he have like a because Gibson did not reissue because it was never theirs in the first place, but they did a Zappa Baby Snakes SG release.
That's right.
And it
because that was
like
never an SG, was it? It was a it was a custom made in an SG shape. Yeah. I think that's what Dweezil's done as well. I don't think he's playing his dad's one because it's probably really precious,
Yeah.
So he's but that guitar, typical SG damage, the headstock came off.
Standard,
shipping, and he just took it out of the case, and it was like, So I think he got it repaired by Sweetwater, I think, because there's a whole video on it. You should check it out. It's really good.
Check it out, yeah.
And the repair job that they do is just like, it's unbelievable. It's great.
Mm.
Yeah,
cool.
Really
Check
good.
it out. Yeah.
Anyway, so hence the SG.
Yeah, so I'll keep you updated on the progress. I'll put some images up here. Boom, of the design I did. And yeah, I'll every
you want to
week
watch that the Zappas don't the other Zappas don't start a lawsuit on if you start using Frank's face on a guitar.
That could be a thing. Let's pretend none of this ever happened.
Oh my god!
It's going to be an image of a man on a guitar. Don't know who it is.
I'm sure it will fall under fair use.
I hope so.
But I'll tell you what, I mean, they've always been, obviously Frank knew his rights. And one of the things that allowed him to remain so successful in the music industry is he never gave up his rights. Well, he had an argument, okay, with Warner at some point, but for the most part, he got back all of his master tapes. He got back all of his publishing. He never signed off on his publishing, so he kept, his own publishing company, wasn't it? And I remember, in college, like, even this is even kind of pre-internet, giving away my age. Like, there was email going back and forth, but I needed to order the scores for a couple of pieces. It was G-Spot Tornado and the Black Page.
Okay, yeah.
I can't remember the third one. Might have been Uncle Meat. I needed it for my dissertation, and I put in the order for the sheet music, and I got an email back, which I like to think was actually from Gail, and by all accounts, it possibly was, because she really was hands-on with everything, and all she said is, "What do you need this for?"
Yeah,
because she wanted to know, if you're asking for the scores for parts, are you going to do a performance? Because we haven't got any, no one's put in any notice that they're going to perform these pieces. And I didn't even think about it. I just at that time I just assumed it would be a really big corporation or something, and I just wrote back and I said, I need it for my dissertation because I'm studying it. And they said, oh, no problem, we'll ship them off straight away.
Fair. But
that it could well have been Gail herself, or at least someone very closely associated with the archives, because but it just shows you, if you are, because there's this lineage of Zappa, alumni, and Steve Vai is another one.
Well, I was going to say, didn't he
never
transcribe a lot of the...
Well, he did, but he never gave up his publishing.
No.
Right? So what you can see with that is, obviously an incredibly successful musician, no doubt.
Course, yeah.
But, you can see rock stars, big names who aren't as wealthy as Steve Vai. And it's because they got themselves into publishing contracts where they were getting a percentage of their money.
Yeah, yeah.
And Steve Vai learned and was taught that by Zappa, don't give up your publishing, and go down that route, And it's interesting. He talks about this at length. Actually, you can find quite a few interesting interviews with Steve Vai. There's another one as well. While we're on this Zappa kick, we could go on for days, but a little conversation between Steve Vai and Dweezil Zappa, and Dweezil Zappa found his original notebook from when he was 12 years old, taking notes in the lessons he got from Steve Vai.
How cool is that?
That's pretty cool, right? Yeah, and they're like going through it, and it's all sort of like literally just chord diagrams, little bits of music theory and all that kind of stuff. Really,
because I heard that at the time Dweezil wasn't that fussed with Steve Vai because it was all about Eddie Van Halen, and he was like, Steve Vai. But Steve Vai wasn't a big deal in those days, even though he was an amazing player. He hadn't released his solo albums. He hadn't. No,
that's true. I have a feeling that I'm pretty sure about this. Like the guys who ended up being employed by Zappa full time.
Yep.
They had to know the music. They had to, and go on tour and whatnot. But Steve Vai was hired for his. Well, he came to Zappa's attention because of his transcription work, and I think because of that particular, because obviously there were lots of good guitar players who came through Zappa's band. But it's like, would you get them to teach your kid music theory or guitar? It's like it would have been an obvious fit, wouldn't it? With somebody like Steve Vai, he's transcribing your music like meticulously. It's like, oh, can you teach him guitar?
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah,
and Dweezil is a fantastic player as well.
Oh, of course he is. Yeah, and now they're just like compadres. You can tell that they're just they're just buddies. But they were just laughing and going over this book, and he was saying like it's put a link up. We'll put a link up here. Bong. Can I do that as well? Do I have the magic to do this?
I don't know. We'll find out later.
God damn it.
Wait, what are we putting a link up for?
To the video where they're having this conversation.
Oh,
about
okay.
His notebook. That should be pretty easy to find.
It might not be where Ian bonk across the screen.
That's just out of
because
order.
It won't be clickable. It will just be an image.
Right.
But maybe.
I thought you were just giving yourself the power.
No, you do. No, that'll be an arrow pointing to below the video where I'll put the link.
He'll put the link. This is the.
Yeah.
I want the power, man.
Ultimately, if you do the editing, you get the power.
That's true. Okay, you get the power. He gets the power.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, Zappa, good times.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, can't go down that rabbit hole though. There's a lot of music there.
We highly recommend that everybody goes a little bit down that rabbit hole.
If you okay, this is what I would say to anybody who's like, who is this Frank Zappa character?
Yeah. Okay.
Good luck with that. If you need to start somewhere, and speaking about the SGs, I would start with You Can't Do That on Stage Anymore, Volume 2.
Yep.
The Helsinki concert.
Great.
That is probably one of the, it's all a live concert. That's the band with George Duke, Napoleon Murphy Brock, Chester Thompson on drums, Ruth Underwood is still on the band and percussion, percussion. Tom Fowler, Bruce Fowler, I can't remember. Anyway, it's a good album. It's a good album.
Roxy's a good album as well.
Well, the Roxy is great, yeah, and it's probably more widely available. But the You Can't Do That on Stage Anymore, Volume 2, is probably, I would say, if you have to have one Zappa album, that's the one to have.
Okay, and if people were just going to pick up one track to listen to, because it's a guitar podcast, Zappa's guitar playing, what would you recommend?
What, Zappa's guitar? Oh, God.
Because I'd go Muffin Man. Widely available, good guitar solo at the end.
If you want to just hear someone kind of shred in, or hear specifically how Zappa approached the guitar, Muffin Man's a pretty good one.
Yeah, cool.
But of course, if you then get a taste for it, then go check out Shut Up and Play Your Guitar, which is a triple CD, I think. I don't know.
Well, there's 3 volumes of it, isn't there?
Yeah.
But they're all double albums, I think.
Yeah, and the one after that as well was a few years later, with 80s, is just called Guitar. It's Frank Zappa.
Yeah,
Guitar,
that's great as well. It's a massive rabbit hole.
Yeah. I mean, that's just literally from a guitar playing point of view. But
and also that track of the Broadway the Hard Way album with the clean guitar solo, the really compressed clean guitar solo that you made us listen to in the car, like constantly on loop while you're at.
Was it Any Kind of Pain or something?
Yes,
like
it
that?
was.
Yeah. Broadway the Hard Way. That's a tricky album, actually. I think.
But that guitar solo,
it's really good. Yeah, there's loads of really good stuff there. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's funny, really. You were asking me about Zappa the other day, saying, "Do I miss playing that stuff or anything?" It to a certain extent, no. It's almost like it's in a box somewhere. It's indelible. It's in my playing. It's in my musicianship. It's in everything. But I almost sort of just put it away. And there's kind of other elements as well, which is like as you discover other music, you can see how and where Zappa was influenced. Yeah. Which when you're a Zappa file is very hard. You're like, oh my God, he's such an innovator and everything. He is. It's sure. He was, wonderful musician, composer, etc. But also prone to moving with the tides. Whatever was happening in music, it's like he would borrow chunks of it and kind of take it.
But even he critiqued his own borrowing, didn't he? In 200 Motels and
certainly,
things, so.
I don't think he would. That's just it's difficult because if you get talking to someone who's really into Zappa, it can be quite they've got blinkers on. There's a lot of good music out there, and Zappa is part of that. Let's say that.
Yeah. And maybe we end it there.
Yeah, I guess so.
Cool.
Yeah, that's probably long enough for a podcast, isn't it?
I think we have covered a multitude of subjects today.
God.
We just rambled. Really like your new guitar. Looking forward to plugging that in, probably momentarily. Thanks all for watching, straight listening. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Leave us reviews on podcasts if you can, on iTunes, Podbean. Just get involved. Send us some emails, guitargeekorama@gmail.com. Leave us some messages on the videos. And we'll catch you guys soon.
All right, cheers. Bye-bye.
See you later.